Hey guys, in this video I wanted to cover the new Spintech motors that just came out. These are the 1106 8000kv motors, and I did do a review video on this frame here. This is the FD120, which have the 1106 Spintech motors in them. I don't think that my flight demo did justice to the motors because I was in a really small park and couldn't really do much there. I think these motors, for the record, for today's date, I think it's July 1st, 2017. I think these 1106 8000kv motors are probably the most powerful motors that you can get in the 110X size, so the 1102 to 1106 size. I don't think there's an 1107 motor out yet. And I just want to give you a little bit more information about them. They're producing about 245 to 250 grams of thrust on these 2.5 inch props on a 2S setup. This is what this was set up for. I did try 3S. I don't know what the thrust stand tests for 3S are. I can tell you that when I did 3S, the flight was pretty crazy. Getting the PIDs right for this was also pretty difficult. You have to get very, very low P gains and D gains. And the motors came down pretty hot. Not really recommending 3S on something this heavy. This is about 100 grams with the motors and everything. The motors are heavy and it's a heavy setup. And on a 2.5 inch prop on 3S, it's producing a lot of RPMs and it does stress out your power system. At the end of my 3S flight, I think one of the ESCs, maybe, I don't know what exactly happened, but like my camera went all crazy, power went all wacky, and I'm pretty sure my ESCs were burning hot as well, although I didn't actually check the temperature. And I just couldn't, when the camera went all wonky, I lost power and I had to land it. So yeah, it'll run 3S for a little while, but probably for not very long, so I don't recommend it. This is definitely a 2S motor on the 2.5 inch prop. I didn't test this on a 2-inch setup. It's possible if you put this on a 2-inch setup with the 20 amp ESC, you probably get different results. Obviously the amp draw will be a lot less, so your power system is not going to suffer as much, and motors are probably going to come down cooler. So I would say that 3S on a 2-inch prop is probably okay for this motor. Let's just give you a little closer look at the motor itself. I would say that all the screw holes and everything were perfectly fine. I had no issues with those, and in terms of mounting, the wire is super nice on this, and it's really thick and super long. This is 24 gauge wire and very, very long wire, so you should have no issues mounting to wherever. The magnets on here are really, really strong. The cogging on here is like, you can obviously I can't portray it to you through the video and you can't hear it, but it's very grippy, so you know that these motors are really strong. I think they're N52 magnets. I'm not 100% sure on that. You might want to check the product specs on the website. And then go ahead and give you a weight measurement. Obviously you got a little extra wire on here, so the weight's going to be a little bit off. Obviously you could probably cut this shorter, but probably looking at about 8 grams for this motor. So, you know, it's a heavier motor for sure. It's an 1106 size motor. So at this point I'm going to go ahead and I'll roll some video footage of my sort of freestyle flight of the FD120. I think that'll better portray what's capable of this motor. It has tons and tons of power, even on 2S. I would say that on this motor, on 2S, even though it's heavier and everything, it felt like it had the same amount of power of a 2-inch micro running a 3S on a smaller motor. So even though in 2S it's got plenty of power, and if I had a different frame where I can get more camera angle on my Micro Swift, I could probably go faster in terms of racing, hitting gates, stuff like that, even though I'm not very good at that. But I think that this is probably very capable as a racer, and also very capable as a freestyle setup as well. These motors have tons of power. Anyway, I'll go ahead and I'll roll that video, and I'll talk to you guys in the next one.